Hey ornithologists, you might be wondering, why am I in my kitchen if we're gonna do a lesson about birds? And that's because today and tomorrow, we're gonna do lessons that are making things to help bring more birds to your backyard so that you can see them more easily and maybe see some different types. And today we're gonna be making a tool for hanging in a tree outside that uses some sort of common kitchen tool to make a little nesting buffet for the birds. Nesting buffet, you might say. What is that? Well, have you ever gone to a restaurant that has had what's called a buffet, where you get to go down a line and just choose a little bit of this food and maybe a little of this food and maybe skip that food, but take a lot of that food? That's called a buffet, where you get to serve yourself. And for our nesting buffet for the birds, we're gonna give them a lot of choices for materials that they might wanna use to build their nests. And then hopefully they'll see your little nesting buffet tool and they'll fly into your yard. They'll come to the tool and they'll maybe take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and then fly away and use that wonderful material that you've provided for their nest. So not only will you be knowing that you are helping to create a cozy, safe nest for some baby birds, but you'll get to see the birds with your eyes more as they fly into your yard to get their nesting materials. So let me show you how to make a backyard nesting buffet. After you've figured out which type of tool you have available from your kitchen to use, and you've checked with your family to see which is okay for you to use, then you're gonna go around your house and a little bit out to your yard to find some great materials that you think would help make a bird's nest nice and soft. And remember that sometimes these materials might fall out of your nesting buffet, and they'll probably fall out of the nest eventually when the bird's done using the nest. So you want to make sure that you don't use any trashy materials or any materials that have any plastic in them, because once those fall out, they'll just turn into litter and they'll make more garbage around our planet. So you want anything you use to be soft and made of natural materials so that when it falls out eventually, it'll just decompose back down into the soil and it won't make more litter. So I'm gonna go around my house and look to see what I can find, and maybe that will give you some ideas of materials you might have in your house too to put into your nesting buffet. Let's go. Oh, here's some nice string I can use. It's made of natural fibers, so even if it falls out of the bird's nest, it won't litter. It'll just decompose back into the earth. This might be a great thing for the nesting buffet. You can brush your little doggy. Yeah. Here I am brushing Sprocket, and after just a few moments, you can see that the brush has lots of great fur. Yeah, do you see that, Sprocket? Yeah, lots of great fur. And fur is nice and stringy and soft for birds to use for their nest. So now I can take what's in here and put it in my whisk. You can also brush your own hair. And then after you brush it for a little while, or maybe if you don't have very long hair, you can see if one of your family members does. In the hairbrush, there are some of your nice long hairs that a bird might want to use for their nest too. You can also go to your dryer and get some of the dryer lint that's collected off of your clothes, because that is also very, very soft and birds might like it for their nests. Don't you think you would enjoy curling up in that if you were a little baby bird? So soft. Here's some tall grass. Some birds might like some of this. I'll bring some of this inside for the nesting buffet. Now that I have all of my materials that I've collected from around my house and my yard, it's time to drape them into my tool. I chose to use this funky shaped whisk that I have from my kitchen that I almost never use. I have a few other whisks that I use more often, so this one won't be missed during my kitchen cooking adventures, and it has lots of nice little wires for me to dangle materials in, and it has a great little hole at the top for me to hang it up in a tree later. So you can see that I have the strings that I found, I have the doggy hairbrush, I have the person hairbrush, I have the dryer lint, the long grass, and I also have a fancier ribbon that I'll use to tie the nesting buffet up in a tree with later. So this one's not made with very natural materials, but that's okay because I'll tie a nice strong knot in it and it will be attached to my whisk. So when I take down the whisk and I take down the buffet, when the birds are all done with it in this spring season, then I will also take down the ribbon so it won't litter. And then I also have a pair of scissors to cut my materials in case they're too long. And now what I need to do is I need to take some of my materials and I need to drape them into the wires on my whisk. And I don't want to tie them because then if I tie them and a bird tries to come up with its beak and it's tied really tight, the bird's going to go, hey, I want this, but I can't get it. Oof, oof, I guess I'll just fly away. Sad. So instead of tying knots or twisting them, we just want to drape. So I've just kind of looped it up into there so it's nice and loose and just kind of dangling off. And then I can do that with all the different materials. So I can take some of the doggy fur. Ooh, that looks nice and soft. And I can kind of drape that inside the little wires so it's kind of hanging off. I could also take some dryer lint. The dryer lint's a little bit tricky to kind of get stuck in there, but you can figure it out. Then I could use my scissors and cut some string and kind of cut some maybe medium length. Ooh, and this string, it looks like also I could pull it apart to make even tinier threads too. So some littler birds might want smaller threads, so I could maybe make some of those in there and I could drape those threads through. I need to make sure that they're draped through enough that they're not going to slip out. So that's one thing to be careful of, because if it all falls on the ground, birds might go to the ground to get it, but it'll be harder for you as an ornithologist to see them if they're not flying up to your nesting buffet. So here's my start. I'm going to keep going and we're going to make a whole nesting buffet for my backyard. All right, I think I have a great nesting whisk. You can see it. It has all sorts of the materials draped into the wires. I also pushed a little bit of extra dryer lint fluff kind of into the middle of my whisk, since my whisk had kind of a rounded shape that I found I could kind of stick the dryer lint in and then the birds could pull it out if they wanted that choice for their nest. And then I also have tufts of dog fur and human hair and grass and the different types of string. It kind of looks like a big, I don't know, spaghetti monster or something, or a big octopus with lots more arms. So it wouldn't be called an octopus since oct means 8. There's more than 8 arms on this octopus. But anyway, I think I'm ready to tie the other little ribbon up around the loop at the top. And then we can go outside and hang it in a tree in my yard, and I'll keep an eye on it to see if any birds come to visit it. All right, let's go outside. So I chose to hang my nesting whisk from this big rhododendron bush in my yard. It's pretty close to one of my windows from my house, so I can peek out and see the birds if they're pulling little nesting materials from my nesting buffet, and that way I can see them as an ornithologist. And it's also a bush that I've seen birds hang out in, and so I know that they will notice this. And I didn't hang it too close into the middle. I didn't have it, hidden with any leaves. I had it very visible so that the birds could see it and come fly and grab what they wanted to and fly away when they needed to get back to their nests. So I made it very available to the birds, but also very visible for me as an ornithologist. So I hope that you guys have fun making your own nesting buffets, whatever kitchen tool you choose to do that with. And I hope that birds come and collect some of your materials to take back to build their nests. If it's not used too much, don't get worried. A lot of birds have already made their nests at this point in the spring. I wish that I could have done this activity with you a little bit sooner in the season when birds were just starting to build their nests. But this is the time that we had to do it because we were so busy with our bird walks and our bird tracking activity. So this was the first chance I had to make this video to teach you how to make this nesting buffet. But there are definitely still birds working on building their nests at this point in the spring. So hopefully at least a few birds will come and grab some of your materials, and you will know that you're helping a mama and daddy bird make their nest nice and cozy and safe for their babies. And even if you don't see the birds taking the materials, I bet some birds will come even when you're not looking. So I bet you're helping whether you see the birds or not. But I do hope you also see the birds, because that's a fun thing as an ornithologist. All right, have fun making your nesting buffets. Bye, ornithologists.